Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the webinar on best practices of MXA and Automixer P300. Let me introduce the team. Today's presenters are Anish Samuel. I'm from the System Application team at Shure Middle East and Africa. Joining me is Ritendra Podar from the System Applications team, Shure Middle East and Africa. We are the point of contact in case you have any technical or design related queries related to Shure system products. Ground rules for today's webinar. Today's webinar is on BlueJeans platform. Please select the low bandwidth option to avoid any kind of interruptions. Please wear a headphone or earphone for better quality audio experience. And if you experience any issue with audio, not to worry, as a webinar recording will be shared shortly. The participants' video and microphone will be muted, and as this is a one-way session, but in case you have any questions or any queries, you can use the chat option or the Q&A box, and we'll be answering it at the end of the session. So just to go through the attendee view of BlueJeans. So make sure that you have the options of muting your microphone and speaker and adjusting the volume here, and you have the slider bar for changing the video and the content as per your convenience. And if you have any chat, if you have to raise any questions or anything, you can use the right bar to choose the appropriate button and raise any questions that you can. And we'll be answering it at the end of the session. A little bit about the webinar setup. As we are aware that many people are currently working from home, and most of our work are involving conference calls via Skype, BlueJeans, Teams, etc. So we can all agree that audio plays a very important role in such AV conferencing scenarios. So if during a conference call, the video fails and the audio is still there, you can continue the call. But if audio fails, the call cannot be continued at all. So the productivity of the conversation is much increased when the audio quality is much clear, and participants will be able to understand what is being conveyed. Or if the audio quality is bad enough, they'll start joining the dots with guesswork, which is not a good practice. So clear audio is therefore a must for effective communication. Otherwise joining parties need to stress a lot to listen to the conversation, which is not good at all if the call needs to go on for hours and hours. So as Shure, we have more than 90+ years experience in delivering quality audio products. And we would like to reiterate that the clear audio is a must for effective communication. And in order to have that effectiveness in our webinar, we have done our home office setup with the Shure Motive line of products. So right now, I'm having a Shure MV51 microphone connected via USB with my laptop, and I have a headphone and a USB camera connected as well. Ritendra has a Shure MV5 digital condenser microphone connected via USB with a Shure SRH145 headphone connected and a USB webcam for video. In addition to this, we also have a couple of Shure microphones and audio devices also set up, and we'll be demonstrating that during the audio demo session of this webinar. A quick idea about the key features supported by Motive. The setup is very quick. It supports plug and play. No drivers are required. So it is built in with a 3.5 headphone output for expandability purpose. And it is compatible with a smartphone and PC and Mac. The DSP is built in with the microphone. It has limiters, compressor, and equalizer. The MV5 has 3 DSP preset modes, which is vocal, flat, and instrument modes. While the MV51 offers you 5 DSP preset modes, such as speech, singing, flat, acoustic instrument, and loud. It also offers seamless integration with AV applications that are for conferencing and soft codecs like Skype, BlueJeans, Teams, etc. So the Shure MV5 offers flexible mounting options when its microphones standard threading is being used. You can see it here. So similarly, the ME51 also offers flexible mounting option with its microphone's standard threading. So it has a durable touch front panel to ensure the longevity of the product. Moving on to the core structure of today's webinar, we'll be covering the aspects of the product, such as the product overview, the best practices for MXA 910, the IntelliMix P300 product overview, portfolio positioning, P300 software features, a designer overview, MXA and P300 GUI demo, and finally the audio demo with a variety of microphones. So we'll play a short video showing a video conferencing scenario in real life and come back to the presentation.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for being here on time. Paul? Hey, Paul, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Tyler.
Sorry I'm late. Having a hard time connecting.
1 second. Paul's having a sound issue.
I can't hear you.
Try adjusting your output settings.
Can you hear me?
It's the gear icon.
Tyler, are you on hotel Wi-Fi?
Yeah, why?
Never mind, I got it. I just had to change a few settings.
Great, great. Maybe we can get started then. Oh, great.
I think your mic is picking up your speakers.
My mic?
Do you have headphones?
You want me to put them on?
No, I want you to smell them. No, I want you to put them on. Hey, Beth.
Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. I had to download a new version of the platform.
You should plan extra time for the updates. There's pretty much one every time.
Sounds like someone just joined.
Hey guys, it's John. I had to call in. I'm stuck in traffic. Have I missed anything yet?
No, it would have been nice for you to join the rest of us, but we'll see you when you get home. All right, while everyone is here, finally, Tyler, do you have that financial report?
Well, it's been the last few weeks updating our books, and I got some great news for you. Schedule from this point last year. We had a great Q1.
We lost Tyler, I think.
Am I frozen?
Hey, Trip, I think we lost Tyler.
Yeah, I know, we lost Tyler.
Hey guys, it sounded like Tyler was cutting out.
We know, John. All right, while we wait on Tyler, why don't we go over all of the reports from... Beth, are you with us?
Oh yeah.
Okay, everyone, I know some of you have to leave soon, but I just wanted to go over a couple of the queries before. Okay, excuse me. My wife's out of town this week. I'm so sorry. Okay, you just spilt grape juice on the carpet. Daddy is in a meeting. Tyler, can you go over the numbers one more time, please?
I thought Beth had an adjustment. Hey, Beth.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, that's my iTunes.
Hey guys, hang on. I'm gonna join in. Hey, what platform are you guys on? Skype? FaceTime?
It's in the invite.
Oh, never mind. I see it. It's right there in the invite.
Okay, now I can see everybody.
Let's reschedule and let's just do a regular old conference call, okay? Paul, can you have David send out the 9-digit passcode?
I heard you.
Yeah, he's been here the whole time.
All right, everybody. I'll see you later.
All right. So I hope you were able to see the video properly. It was a bit dramatic, but this is what you face in a real life conference scenario. So we can all agree that in audio video or AV, or audio comes first. So taking the scenario of a conference call, if you can hear me, it means that you can understand me without actually seeing me. But if you see me without hearing me, that doesn't always work. So audio is very important when it comes to AV. Moving on, we'll be discussing about the use cases of a technology within multifunction spaces where informal and formal meetings do take place. So such kind of a working environments are meant to be more collaborative and less people are trained on the technology. So the technology incorporated should be flexible enough to cater to these multiple scenarios. And it should be able to adapt to limitations within the room's acoustic signature. The Shure solutions are a good fit for such applications, and we'll be discussing in detail during the upcoming slide. So the MXA 310 table array overview. So we can all agree that a clear organization is actually a healthy organization. So organizational clarity mandates for focused discussions to be conducted on a regular basis. So this would ensure that the roles and responsibilities of an individual are clear. The expectations are clear, which means that there is accountability. Goals and objectives are clear so that they will be executed to the best. But how can you conference effectively if you can't be heard clearly on a call? So the MXA 310 maximizes audio quality so that the voice comes out through very clearly. How does it work? So the MXA 310 integrates smartly into any space like boardrooms, huddle rooms, multipurpose areas. So you can ensure that the speech is captured accurately and it is reproduced intelligibly. So with the steerable coverage and a low profile design, it helps you remove unnecessary clutter and gives you a more clarity during meetings. So in terms of connectivity, the MXA 310 offers audio, power, that is PoE, and control carried over a single Ethernet cable. So the audio is routed over Dante, which is like a combination of a hardware, a software, and a network protocol that helps you deliver uncompressed, multi-channel, low latency digital audio over a standard Ethernet network using layer 3 IP packets. So the MXA 310 offers control strings also for third-party controllers like AMX, Crestron, Control4, etc., and many other leading brands. Moving on, the MXA 310 offers great audio on the table. It offers you steerable coverage. That is with the free designer system configuration software. You can specify the polar pattern for each lobe. So patterns like cardioid, supercardioid, hypercardioid, omnidirectional, and bidirectional can be used. There's also an exclusive toroidal pattern which is available, that can give you a 360-degree coverage, while it rejects the sound that comes directly above from the microphone, such as like HVAC system noise or overhead video projector noise. So all these unwanted noises coming from the ceiling can thus be eliminated. And you have integrated sound tools, that can help you, adjust the parametric EQ and, as per the room conditions, and it will help improve the clarity and reduce unwanted noise. It can also be utilized to improve audio quality, intelligibility, and seamless interaction between conference sites. The MXA 310 offers selectable polar patterns on 4 independent channels to capture participant audio. So the individual polar pattern control is possible on the 4 channels of the MXA 310. So like you can have bidirectional polar patterns, and you can have cardioid and supercardioid. So you can have a mix of all. And the MXA 310 also offers you flexible routing over the network. Like you can mix, route, and manage the signals from up to 4 coverage areas as separate channels on the network using a single Ethernet cable. So you can also use the Automix channel, to easily route audio to additional devices like the any USB matrix, like the audio network interface from Shure. Now it can help you to do simple integration with leading software codec tools like Skype for Business or Teams. And mute controls are there. You can program the touch-sensitive mute button of a toggle, in a toggle mode, or push to mute or push to talk. There are various features that we had discussed in the older slide or older webinars. And also it gives you an intuitive LED displays. like the configurable LED light ring is available in more than like 17 colors, and it shows the mute status of the microphone whenever it is in use, and it can also display like lighted segments, this, to confirm the coverage area and the selected Automix settings. So moving on to the MXA 910 ceiling array. The MXA 910 with IntelliMix is actually an elegant approach to conferencing audio, as it eliminates all the equipment clutter, leaving more room for clarity within the space. So instead of focusing on a microphone's position, you can actually concentrate on compelling communication or discussion. So the harmonious integration with technology actually leads to more open discussion, and organizational clarity is achieved. The MXA 910 offers steerable coverage. You can capture and configure up to 8 lobes to ensure that uniform acoustic performance is achieved throughout the room. The automatic positioning of the lobes is also possible, using the tool within the control software. So each lobe of the MXA 910 ceiling array can be steered to a talker's voice for quick and easy microphone setup. The MXA 910 is actually designed for the ceiling, and it has an integrated vibration isolation, which prevents mechanical noise from being transmitted through the microphone. So it is UL 2043 certified, which is actually a standard for fire test for heat and visible, smoke on products when you are installing it in an air handling space. So similarly, it has a light bar, the configurable multicolored LED light bar. It actually shows the mute status of the microphone, and it can be disabled if no status indication is required. And there are different color options also available, like black, white, and aluminum, and it is also paintable, to match your branding guidelines. So when an MXA 910 is installed at a height of 3 meters, the ceiling array, captures audio from the seated participants to a recommended area of 9 meters in diameter. It actually meets the STIPA A intelligibility rating, which is a high speech intelligibility rating when you compare to other, similar devices. So the STIPA, or the speech transmission index for public addressing, is actually a measure of speech transmission quality for PA systems. So it is actually between a scale of 0 to 1, where 0 is deemed as to be least intelligible, and 1 is deemed as to be the highest intelligibility. So the ceiling array will maintain its STIPA A rating up to a height of 5 meters, above a talker, when the coverage diameter will reduce to 6 meters. So technically, when the microphone will go up, it will capture more, but the height is increased. Like when we are increasing the height from from 3 meters to 5 meters, the coverage area will reduce from 9 meters to 6 meters, because the STIPA A mandates that particular coverage for intelligibility, for maximum intelligibility. So that is the criteria for the maximum intelligibility. So when we are saying these parameters, it has been tested under room conditions of say RT60 around 500 milliseconds at 1 kilohertz, and the weighted room noise is at 40 dB SPL. So the lobes of the MXA 910 is narrower than a shotgun mic, and it is adjustable as narrow, medium, and wide. So it also offers steerable coverage. So when you have a narrow setting, it will give you 35 degree of coverage, and medium is 45, and wide is 55 degree. So when we talk about the placement of an MXA 910, it gives you the best performance if the lobes are pointed towards the front of each talker. So if you see on an 8-seater table, the lobes are best if it is pointed to the front of a person who is seated. And you can use the browser-based control software to easily position the ceiling array via the drag and drop interface. you may use the out-of-the-box configuration like the 30 feet room, the out-of-the-box configuration, which is roughly like 9 meter by 9 meter. And you can work your way forward from that. So it is actually very intuitive, and you can use features like auto position, etc. for the lobes. With the 4.x firmware, you'll be able to use the IntelliMix DSP features, which is optimized for MXA. So, the IntelliMix DSP is added onto the product itself, and you can now use AGC, AEC, noise reduction, compressor, and delay. All these features are built in. So these features, it doesn't affect the individual channel outputs. They are only applied to the Automix output of the MXA. Now we are moving on to the autofocus technology. So users can actually aim the lobe, wherever they want during a design or a commissioning stage. So once aimed to a particular area or a particular user, the lobes will be listening for the change in the user's position or the talker's position. And the lobe will automatically move up to 1.5 feet, or which is roughly 45 centimeter maximum in any direction, following the user or following the talker. That is towards the left or the right, which is X and Y, and also to the talker's height. So the lobe will automatically adjust in real time to keep the focus on the talker. So the lobes are always, anchored on their original set position. They cannot move greater than 1.5 feet, which is like 45 centimeters away from the user set position in any direction. So this will be actually a significant advantage for times when these users, when they shift in their chairs, they stand up or sit down, etc. So when you go for a reboot or a preset load or a preset save or a lobe position command string that you're sending over a control, from a control panel, it will only be the user configured position that is being saved, and it is not the autofocus position that is going to be affected. So auto position is actually unaffected by autofocus. So what is auto position? So you can use an auto position when you are actually configuring the software to point a lobe or to track a lobe, to a specific audio. So like you can use auto position to initially aim your lobe, and once you accept that particular position, autofocus will automatically start. You cannot turn off or disable autofocus, and you cannot adjust the 1.5 feet maximum adjustment area for now. So any existing MXA 910 that you get with the latest firmware updated will both have an IntelliMix technology and an autofocus technology enabled. So this will add autofocus to already deployed older systems. You just need to update the firmware. That's all. So again, to reiterate, the autofocus cannot be disabled. So it is only an added advantage that it will follow the user, if he does a minor shift in their chairs or their positions. So how do we tell if the talker is inside or outside of a lobe? So when the talker is inside a lobe, you'll find more presence of high frequencies because high frequencies are being picked up properly. And when the person is outside the lobe, the sound will be more muffled, or there will be a poor high frequency response. So an excellent example is to place like your hand over your mouth. So test. So what happens is the resulting audio will actually sound very muffled because the high frequency is being filtered out from your speech. So now we are going to discuss about the MXA 910 unique characteristics. So all lobes are time aligned. That means the different frequencies like bass, mids, and highs are digitally aligned to reach the user at the same time. The next is like when one channel of the or one lobe is active at one point of time, the signal will be at 0 dB. So when you double the channels, the sum of two channels will always give you a 6 dB boost. So when you have the 8 channels active, it will give you a total of 18 dB boost, because every time you double the channels, it will give you an additional 6 dB. And the maximum number of lobes we have is 8. So to mention about the polar patterns, we don't specifically produce polar patterns, that are below the 1K range. But the MXA manual also shows the 1K polar pattern and above, like 1K hertz polar pattern and above. But we need, in real life, we need to have a fair idea of the range. Some cases it needs to be discussed. So that's the reason we are going to discuss about some frequencies, only for your reference. So, for example, the frequency spectrum of 20 to 20 kilohertz is actually broken up into 7 bands or ranges. And, it is being showed as a generic chart to the right. So the mic pickup of a 250 hertz signal will be at 120 degrees, which is the upper limit of the base frequency. Like the base frequency starts from 60 to 250 hertz. So what we mean to say is that the low frequencies are less directional. So progressing to the 500 hertz, what happens is the 500 hertz is actually the upper limit of the lower mid-range spectrum. So lower mid-range spectrum is like 250 to 500 hertz. And the angle becomes more directional, and it comes to an 80 degree. So when we compare with a traditional mic, like a traditional cardboard mic, 250 hertz at 120 degree, which is the value of MXA 910. When you compare it with a cardboard mic, which is very directional, the cardboard mic will give you 180 degree, but you cannot have a similar setup on a ceiling, because 180 degree, when it touches 180 degree, it will even touch the ceiling surface, and it will be prone to unwanted noises, which is not recommended. So 120 degree is even pretty much directional, and we cannot underestimate the effect of the low frequency being less directional in this case. So clarity, when you talk about clarity is found primarily in the upper mid-range frequencies. So the typical frequency ranges used in a spoken word are like 150 hertz to 6,000 hertz for men, and 350 hertz to 8,000 hertz for women. So the polar pattern that you see here, you can see that the lobes are less directional at low frequencies. So basically anything less than 1,500 or 1,000 hertz is having it is less directional, but the higher ranges of frequencies are more directional. So you have a setting of narrow. You can see that the low frequencies are spilling over, and when you see the medium, again it is similar, and a wide setting will give you more or less the same coverage. So in this slide, you can see that the lower frequency range, like the higher frequency range, like the higher mid-range, the presence and the brilliant frequencies are being covered in this, which is more directional. And when you go for the lower frequency ranges, it is less directional because it spills over. So when we see the frequency response of a single lobe being activated in the MXA 910, you can see that it is being operated at 0 dB. The signal will give you a 0 dB value. So when you compare it with 8 lobes being active at 100% overlap, it gives you an 18 dB boost in the signal. And for comparison, if you take an MXA 395, just for comparison, it will give you just 9 dB boost, whereas the MXA 910 will give you the additional 9 dB boost, which is totally 18 dB. And this is at 100% overlap. The MXA 395 is a typical boundary microphone. And just to recap, all lobes are time aligned, so it will reach at the same time. So moving on to a scenario with 8 lobes with minimum overlap, you can see that the correlated signals at low frequency is happening and decorrelated signals of high frequencies are coming. So what will happen is the MXA will have 18 dB of boost in low frequency due to the correlation and 9 dB boost in high frequency due to the decorrelation. So this is when you do 8 lobes with minimum overlap. So this is technically okay when we don't listen to 8 lobes together because we'll be using auto mixing, where the number of open mics will be reduced as per the room condition. So talking about auto mixing, there are two major auto mixing standards that we are going to discuss. One is a gain sharing auto mixer, and next is the gated auto mixer. So what is a gain sharing auto mixer? So gain sharing auto mixer, it distributes a fixed amount of gain to all the channels. On channels will get more gain than the off channels. So the total gain of the system remains fairly constant. And as a microphone becomes more active, it receives more gain while the inactive channel's gain is reduced. So no mic is completely gated or turned off fully during normal operation. So it is a lot easier to deploy and better liked by system integrators. So technically, if there is no talker within a gain sharing mixing, it will give you an attenuation of 9 dB, so, which still produces a lot of low end frequency, and it will sound boomy if you are not within a particular lobe. So the advantage of gain sharing is that the output will remain almost the same, or the sound will remain almost the same regardless of 1 or 2 or 3 or all 8 talkers. So it is not actually recommended for use with the MXA 910 because it is always going to sound the same regardless of the number of open mic. And finally, the mix will reproduce more echo and the room reverberations and noise within the room. So on testing the MXA 910 with a gated auto mixer, we found that it works much better than the gain sharing auto mixer. So since then, we have started encouraging our customers and manufacturers to use gated auto mixer rather than using gain sharing auto mixer. So a couple of parameters that we would like to discuss in this regards is like off attenuation. So off attenuation is actually the amount of attenuation that has to be applied on the signal. So when a gate turns off. So we have been recommending at least like 18 dB of attenuation. So you can see that the default on Biamp and QSE and all is minus 40 dB at the gated auto mixer, which also works quite fine. So minus 40 dB is because the standard meeting room environment is having the ambient noise level of approximately 40 to 45 dB SPR. So off attenuation will compensate the ambient noise level, and the microphone doesn't pick up unnecessary ambience if the gate is actually turned off. The next is the gating sensitivity. So it is actually the changes in the threshold of the level at which the gate is opened. So suppose the gate is off, this particular sensitivity will define like when the gate has to turn on. Next is hold time. So it actually sets the duration for which a particular channel has to remain open, after the level drops below the gating threshold. So once the gate turns on, the gate will remain on even if the person is not speaking for this particular hold time. And moving on to the maximum number of open channel, or NOM, it sets the maximum number of simultaneously active channels. And LMLO, or it is a setting for leaving the last mic turned on. During, it's mainly for ambience when you're having a conference call or something like that. So moving on, the IntelliMix technology on board of the microphone, it activates with precision the best channel for each talker. So it follows the talker, basically when he walks around the room, the IntelliMix technology actually tracks the talker and activates the correct lobe. And it can also activate multiple channels when multiple people can talk simultaneously. So this configuration of multiple channels with fixed position, allows the AEC on the audio processor to perform at its best because the coverage is not moving. So we have already discussed about the off attenuation and the threshold level and the hold time. The off attenuation is actually the drop-in signal that is applied when you are turning a particular channel off, and the threshold level is where a particular channel turns on after checking that particular level, and the hold time is how much the channel will be remaining on, the time at which it will remain on even when the signal goes down. And there's another factor called number of open mics, where the simultaneous active channels are defined by the user, and it is again case to case. So we'd always recommend to keep the number of open mics between 1 or 2 for better results. LMLO, or last mic lock on, is actually to set the ambience when you are having a call with the far end. So even if nobody is talking, the far end can still feel that the call is connected, and they can fairly be happy about being live during the call. Moving on, there are 2 important points also to discuss in this slide. One is signal level matching and hard limiting within codecs. So as you may know, the analog audio signals are typically microphone level, line level, or aux level. So mic level signals are just in millivolts, and it is what comes out of a microphone directly. And line level signals are roughly 1 volt and typically found at the output of a mixer or a processor, or that has analog output. So the important thing to note is that the microphone level signal must be connected to an input that is designed to handle it. So a mic level signal connected to a line level input will produce almost no sound. So similarly, a line level signal must be connected to an input that is designed to handle it. If say, for example, if a line level signal is connected to a mic level input, it will cause distortion. So we need to make sure that whenever you are interfacing a codec with either a DSP or a microphone directly, the signals should be matching. Similarly, in audio conferencing or video conferencing codecs, there is something called as hard limiting. So it is actually the codec is adapting the input sound to the codec's own audio standard. So this will actually include manipulating or limiting the level of the signal that is coming in as an input, which is called as hard limiting. So the hard limiting could be implemented anywhere. Like it could be inside of the hardware codec or the software codec, or it can be inside of a SIP adapter or an interface. So it could also be at the VoIP telephone system as well, if it is being used. So an example of hard limiting is what is being explained here. So it takes, say for example, you are taking an output of your DSP, which is a very nice clean signal with a lot of speech and very less noise. So you are making sure that it is having a good signal to noise ratio, and you are actually feeding it to the codec, which can be a hardware codec or a software codec, whatever it is. So what happens is when the hard fast limiting is in play, it just limits the speech to a lower level, and the noise will be audible at all times at a higher level. So when the signal will reach the far end via the codec, the far end participants might complain. They might complain about the noise level within the signal because it is being compressed or hard limited. So they will be ultimately blaming the microphone, but without realizing that the issue lies in the codec, which is not ideal. So it is very important to check the codec input levels by checking the hardware or the software specs and try and match your signal feeds as per the recommended level. So it has to be a clean feed as per the specification of the codec. So if your codec accepts like a nominal input level of say like -30 dB, make sure that the signal reaches the codec at minus 30 dB by setting your DSP output feeds properly. So you should definitely take a note at what dB level should be your starting point, while you are feeding the signal. The best practice is to turn it down significantly and slowly bringing it up, until the time you don't get any difference listening to the far end. Like when you're doing the remote tuning of an MXA 910 at the far end. So this is what you do. Moving on to the optimization checklist that needs to be followed during a deployment with MXA 910. So you need to make sure that all the talkers are inside of a lobe. So you need to listen to the near end with a headphone before feeding it to a codec. So you need to make sure that your signal is clean, having good signal to noise ratio, and only after that feed to a codec. Next is we would recommend to use a gated automatic mixer. It will give you much better results. And a low shelf filter is also recommended with equalization, also done as per the room's requirement. So we would also urge you to invest in an audio analyzer to find out problematic frequencies and decide on the EQ. And of course, the room itself can be facing issues, and because each room will be having its own distinct acoustic signature. So you need to maybe treat the room before using such technologies. So make sure that you are sending the proper input level of the codec, and we would also recommend that you go through the MXA user guide and best practices FAQ for advanced step of setup in case you need more data before doing deployment. So having said that, I would like to hand over the floor to Ritin. So he'll be taking you through the rest of the session. Thank you for your patience, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thanks, Anish. Thanks for explaining the unique characteristic and best practices of 910. I'm sure that the participant understood that the 910 is different than any conventional microphone and need more understanding to get the best out of it. Hello, everyone. I'm Ritin. I'm going to take you through the next half of the webinar. As Anish mentioned, that MXA 910 is having 8 steerable lobes. Lobes are less directional on low frequency, and IntelliMix technology helps in bringing more intelligibility out of the microphone. It can activate the correct channel because of the IntelliMix. It can follow the talker because the microphone will understand from where the voice is coming in. And it allows multiple talkers to speak together if you select norm to more than one, say for example, 2, 3, or 4. Now I'm going to give you a scenario over here. Suppose you have a room with MXA 910 installed. Yeah, and there is a talker sitting at the corner of the table somewhere and is speaking. And if the lobe is pointing on the talker, so that's perfect, right? Everybody means in this scenario, talker voice is going to be very intelligible because lobe is pointing on him. Audio is going to be clear on the higher frequency side, which is the speech. Now, if suppose the scenario comes like that, where the talker is speaking from somewhere and the lobe which is not pointing on the talker is getting activated, means the lobe which should not be activated is activating. So in this scenario, the voice of the talker is not going to be intelligible because the speech level, the frequency of the talker is not getting picked up by the right lobe. And as said, lobes are less directional on low frequencies, so the low frequencies of the talkers is going to be picked up. So the sound of the talker is going to be muffled, right? Now, consider the scenario happens like this. Talker is speaking from one corner and unnecessary additional lobes are open. So that's fine. Talker is getting picked up by the lobe, but it also picking up unnecessary ambience of the room from other lobes, which are not required to be open. So this is what usually happens when we configure the microphone and the DSP, and if we don't know how to configure it. So basically this this kind of misunderstanding or the wrong configuration can be solved by having the proper gated Automixer configuration. But say if the Automixer is not configured properly, which is with the microphone built in, and if you're using third-party DSP and the gated Automixer is not configured properly, then it can sound muffled, it will not be clear, and you will be thinking like, oh, when we went to Shure booth and heard the audio demo, it was sounding amazing, and the same microphone is sounding good here. There is something wrong, right? So that is happening because the wrong configuration in the Automixer. So we started educating the market saying, you have to keep norm to 2 to 3, keep unnecessary loops off, don't turn it on if it is not required because that will add the ambience and all. And that works somehow. But as we are talking about the whole geographical region all across the world, so it is hard to explain every now and then, and we were experiencing the issue every now and then from some corner of the world. So we thought like, okay, why don't we introduce something which just work with our MXA 910 microphone and our ceiling array and table array microphone. So by thinking on that, in that direction, we introduce our IntelliMix P300 DSP. So IntelliMix P300 DSP is basically designed to complement our ceiling array and table array microphone, and that offers the same gated auto mixing functionality with the DSP. So now you can utilize any type of microphone and offer the same auto mixing, which is patented for us. IntelliMix is patented for us, and you can utilize the best out of it with the microphone. So let's talk a little bit new thing, what happened with IntelliMix P300. We introduced this DSP 2 years ago. It's doing great, but we did a recent update with our IntelliMix P300. We got a new firmware, which is enabling Dante Domain Manager with the DSP. You also get the VCC3 cable. We got a new SKU. It's a very simple cable only, but a new SKU, which is designed to connect the Cisco codec with our IntelliMix P300 DSP, right? So that can help a lot to have the clear audio transmission from the DSP to the codec. And now the new firmware is enabling the configuration feature through the designer software. Yeah, you get the option of optimizing the audio. You can do the network audio routing through the designer only. Now you don't need to go to Dante controller to do the audio routing from the microphone to the DSP and all. You can straight away use the designer software, and that can do the audio routing. You can use and create the templates. We have given pre-configured templates for our different types of the microphone. We know how exactly our microphone works. So based on that, we have given a couple of templates to save your time. If you're on site, you just select that template, do a little bit of adjustment, and you are ready to use the system. And Designer is basically an online and offline tool. So if you're in a phase of designing the project and you want to understand how many microphones you need, what all lobes you need to configure at what position, you can do it offline. And then when you go on site, the designer software is going to have the option to go online, and you can configure and do the adjustment on site. So it saves your time on site. So you can work offline and go on site as well. So as said, superior audio performance, which is getting delivered by our IntelliMix P300. Now let's talk about what are we offering with it. So it offers 8 Dante microphone inputs with IntelliMix DSP. We have developed our own AEC algorithm. So Shure developed AEC, 8 channels. We offer noise reduction up to 18 dB and offer IntelliMix automatic mixing. In terms of connectivity, it offers Dante digital audio, hardware video codecs. You can connect with analog connection. You can connect soft codec on laptop or desktop PC using USB connection. And you can also connect to your smartphone or tablets using 3.5 mm jack. Yeah, very simple installation. It's half rack unit. There is no fan in it. So you can mount under the table, behind the display, inside furniture. We offer the half rack bracket with the box itself. And we also have optional CRT mounting accessories, which can go in your rack. Ears are adjustable, so you can adjust the ears of the bracket and install in your rack as You connect with AV network, and it is powered by PoE+. So you need to have PoE+ switch for your installation. Very intuitive setup, straightforward signal path. P300 is designed for a small and mid size of meeting room, conference room, and boardroom. And the beauty of this DSP is it is having fixed architecture, and which works pretty well for a small and mid size of meeting room, boardroom, and conference room, because you don't need to think what exactly you need to add in your DSP to perform the audio path. Yeah, so the audio is going to go through this path: Dante in, parametric EQ, AEC, noise reduction, AGC, then Automixer, and then you can have desired output in terms of Dante, analog, USB, or mobile. Easy configuration with the help of designer software, and you also get option of optimizing the audio. Yeah, so if suppose you are using MXA 910 with P300, you route the audio and click on optimize audio, it will auto configure to the microphone. So you can do the job in minutes, and it's just a matter of adjusting some levels to get the best out of it. So that helps a lot to save your time with the help of designer. Yeah, and this feature is applicable for MXA 910, 310, and P300. Now let's talk a little about the portfolio positioning of P300. The key benefits of IntelliMix P300 is it's having IntelliMix DSP built in. It is designed to enhance the performance of MXA, MXW, Microflex Wireless, and MX microphone in conference room. It offers superior audio performance, flexible connectivity, simple installation, intuitive setup, competitive price. Now, you will be having a scenario where your customer maybe don't want to have the DSP. They're having a small huddle room setup where they're gonna use the software-based conferencing codecs like Skype, BlueJeans, and Unlinked. So at that point, people don't want to invest more on the DSP and any other additional hardware. So at that point, you can use any USB. This is a kind of interface which converts the Dante and analog connection in USB. So you get the easy connectivity with your software-based conferencing codec rather than installing Dante virtual sound card in your PC. Yeah, a little bit of comparison between P300 and any USB. P300 can be used for near and far end conferencing, for medium and large room, hard or soft codecs. You can also do sound reinforcement now. Why? Because now with the new firmware release, we are giving the direct output from the Automixer. So you get the option of voice lift capability. You can do mix minus zoning with that. In any USB, near end and far end conferencing, that's it. Small and medium rooms, and you can utilize with hard or soft codec. Remember that sound reinforcement is always heavily dependent on characteristic of setup of your specific room, and result may vary. So we would recommend you to contact us if you're working on those kind of application with our IntelliMix P300. So we will guide you in our best way. Now, quickly look on the rear panel of IntelliMix P300. You get the connectivity via Dante. So MXA 310, 910 connect with PoE switch, and you can connect P300 via PoE switch, and the audio can be routed through designer. And if you don't have, still you can use Dante controller. We get USB 2.0 connection for connecting software-based conferencing codec, 2x2 analog in and out to connect the hardware codec or a speaker out of the room, 3.5 mm TRS mobile jack to connect the mobile phone or the calls from there. So for example, you are in a conference call running Skype, or maybe you're having Cisco call, and you want to include any participant from other end, and he is not having any mode of communication except the mobile phone. You can make a call and connect with 3.5 mm jack, and that guy is in for the meeting. So this is TRRS, tip ring ring sleeve, 3.5 mm. So talking about the overall portfolio, what you can use with our IntelliMix P300, you can use MXA 310 up to 2, you can use 2 MXA 910, or you can also use Microflex Wireless access point transceiver, which is our wireless microphone solution. If you have old installation with analog microphones, still we give the option to connect with our P300 via using interface, that's NE4N, which accept analog N and offer you Dante output, right? And now talking about the any USB rear panel, it offers Dante connectivity, USB 2.0, and 1x1 analog in and out. Overall, what all you can connect over here. It can work with MXA, Microflex Wireless, MX with any, and it offers flexible routing and connectivity. There is no AEC built in with any USB, so you need to rely on the soft codec AEC of the microphone, of the codec, sorry. Now let's talk a little about the software feature of Intel MX P300. So as said, it is having the fixed architecture, predefined path for audio, and it offers Dante Domain Manager. You can use Designer for system configuration, and it is having intuitive navigation for easy control, having schematic layouts, so it makes it easier to configure because you know what exactly you're working on, right? So talking about DSP details, we offer 4-band parametric EQ to improve the audio intelligibility of the microphone pickup. We offer acoustic echo cancellation, that is AEC. Just one thing to remember over here, that one reference shared across all 8 channels. So if you define, basically the reference is always going to be the far end audio, whatever you're going to hear through the speaker. So AEC, whatever reference you define for one channel, that will be automatically defined to all other channels. Yeah. Select audio channels fed to the room loudspeaker. Start on low or medium setting. AEC offers you 3 different linear processing, low, medium, and high. We recommend to use low and medium, which works pretty well. So yeah, worst case scenario, if the room is having a lot of echo issue, then we recommend, okay, try having high setting. Noise reduction is also there. It offers in 3 different processing, low, medium, and high. We recommend to use low and medium, which works pretty well. It's very efficient, and to be honest, we are very proud of having the AEC and noise reduction of Intel MX P300. It also offers automatic gain control and automatic mixer. Automatic mixer can be defined in gating, gain sharing, or manual mode. Preset optimize performance for MXA 910 and 310, and it's having 6 additional Dante output now, so total 8 Dante outputs. Intel MX P300 also offers the encryption, so it works with MXA 910, 310, NE4N, and all other interfaces what we have. Basically, the use of encryption is to prevent unauthorized listening to the network. I can give you a very good example of a boardroom. Consider you're having an office and the boardroom is with Dante-based microphone system. Dante setup is there. And boardroom is basically designed for confidential discussion. And maybe there is a smart IT guy who knows about everything is on network. He can simply install one Dante virtual sound card in his PC and take all the audio output, and he can listen whatever was discussed in that room, which is not safe. So we are offering audio encryption with our system. So what it does, basically, you can do the Shure-to-Shure encryption, and you have to have the same passphrase to have the audio connection between 2 Shure devices. If the passphrase is not there, the audio will be blocked for any other network devices. So basically, you are securing your audio in the network, which is very important and was asked many times by many users. It is AES-256 bit of encryption, and passphrase has to match to have the audio encryption. Now, we will talk about the next feature, what we are offering with our Intel MX P300 and any USB. That's called mute synchronization. So here in this slide, it's just about talking the command paths, like what all different symbols we are going to use, the line symbols we are going to use for different command paths. For example, Shure logic command is like that, TPCI is like that, USB is HID in blue, and LED command is dotted blue line. Right, so let's go to understand what is mute sync. So mute sync is the feature which you can use to have the complete synchronization of mute functionality in a conference call. Imagine you're on a conference call and there is no mute synchronization, and you muted the microphone through the soft codec, and the microphone is still showing green. So people, of course, the far end can understand because they can see the microphone is muted, but the near end will see the microphone is green. Okay, the microphone is on. We don't want to talk any confidential thing right now, right? So that's not good. So there should be some kind of synchronization, and we know that it is possible by a third-party control system. But what if the room is not having third-party control system? It's a small, low-budget conference room where you just have the microphone and the conferencing codec with display. right? So at that point, this mute sync works well. So simple, you have to have the logic enable option in IntelliMix P300. I will explain the web GUI later in this session, but simple, you need to enable this. You press the mute button in MXA 310, you press the mute button in control system, and it will mute the whole path of the hardware or the soft codecs. So for example, here, if we are talking about MXA 310 with P300, the way mute-sync works, let me explain. You press the mute button in MXA 310, it sends the logic command, Shure logic command to P300, and basically it mutes the Automixer output of P300. Now you'll be thinking that why the Automixer? Why not the input only? Why are we not muting the input of the DSP? This is the general way of configuring the system. People usually do that way, which is wrong actually, which I wanted to emphasize here. So what happens when you're on a conference call and you are having the audio signal coming in over here, right, as Dante input, and then the audio flows through PEQ, AEC, noise reduction, AGC, and reaches to Automixer. And then the Automixer output goes to video conferencing codec or soft codec, right? So basically, why we are muting the Automixer, not the input, is to save the AEC convergence. Now, what is AEC convergence? You must have noticed that when you're on a conference call, so at the very beginning, you hear your voice back. That is the echo. But if your AEC is configured properly, at that point, the sound what you are hearing back to your voice goes away in few milliseconds, and you hear that. But when you mute the input, the signal what was referencing to AEC is gone. So when the second time you unmute the input side, it is again going to do the convergence of the reference signal in AEC block, which is basically doing the second time the same kind of convergence. So to avoid that, we want to keep the signal of the microphone feeding to AEC all the time. And then when it is going to the Automixer and then coming out, if we mute the Automixer, it is not going to affect the AEC reference of the audio path. So AEC is going to be converged in that case. So you're not going to hear your voice back and back every now and then when you unmute and unmute the microphone. So this is the way you should also configure other DSPs when you use it in a conference call. Never ever mute the audio input, which is going into the DSP, always mute to the Automix output. And then when the Automix output is muted, microphone is not supposed to be muted, because when you mute, of course, at that point, again, you are destroying the AEC convergence. So basically, to notify the audience that the microphone is muted, P300 sends the command string to just change the LED color of the microphone. So the microphone is still sending the audio as an input over here, right? And it's sending the information back to microphone saying, change the LED color to red, which is the notification for muting the microphone. And this is how you are safe. AEC convergence is secured. Your microphone is muted. People are notified as well that the microphone is muted. So this is how we should do. And this is the best practice what we can offer from our side. Talking about control system, when you mute the microphone from the control system touch panel, it sends a TCP/IP command, goes to DSP, and it mutes the Automixer. And same time, if you're having MXA 910, you mute the button over here, it goes to TCP/IP command to DSP, it mutes the Automixer. At the same time, it sends the LED command to MXA 910 to change the color in red color. So you can easily be notified that the microphone is muted. Yeah, but the microphone is still sending the signal to the input. Now, other thing what we can say, mute-sync is compatible with MXA 910, 310, 910, NE4N, NE20, and of course MXA 910. And in that case, if the room is small, you don't need control system. You can manage the mute capability, DSP feature, everything through the P300 as well. Now talking about the soft codec, for example, here we are showing the Zoom interface. You press the mute button, it sends a Shure logic command, and it goes and mutes the Automixer. At the same time, it sends the LED command back to MXA 310 to change the color to red. And at the same time, P300 also sends USB HID command because the PC is going to be connected with Intel MX 300 via USB, and it mutes the Zoom codec as well. So basically everything is in sync. You see Zoom is muted, DSP is muted, and MXA 310 is muted. So that kind of activity is possible with our Intel MX P300 DSP. Talking about muting the call using the Zoom, you press the button, microphone is muted. It sends the USB HID command to P300. It mutes the DSP, Automixer, and it sends the LED command to MXA 310 to mute the microphone, to notify the users that the microphone is muted, right? And the same thing works for Cisco RoomKit and Touch 10. So basically you mute the microphone from anywhere and it will send the complete synchronization process to the DSP, and everything will be notified the way it has to. So you don't need control system to do this kind of job. Everything is possible with our Intel MX P300. Small but powerful, that's what I can say. Now, that's all about the features of Intel MX P300. Now I'm gonna explain a little about the designer software. As said, designer software is a tool which we use to configure P300. The new firmware upgrade in P300 offers the P300 configuration only via designer software. You cannot have the web GUI control with P300. So I'm going to quickly show you the designer software. By the way, the next session is on the software solution from Shure. So we are going to go in detail of designer tool. But for now, as I need to explain P300, I'll go over there to explain. So let me just quickly open the designer web GUI. So this is the schematic of Intel MX P300. This is live. I'm having my Intel MX P300 installed here, and you see the inputs are here. I'm having MXA 310 910 connected here. The audio is moving through this. The Automixer is here. I want to emphasize on one specific feature what we have launched with the new firmware version. That's the Automixer. In Automixer, you get these options: pre-processing, pre-gate. As you can see that Automixer is giving independent output as well. So you can do mix minus using the matrix mixer, where which microphone needs to go to what output you can do. And also, if you don't want to have any kind of auto mixing, you can utilize this block in Automixer saying pre-processing pre-gate. It means you don't want to have any kind of processing like PEQ, AEC, noise reduction to the Dante input on what is specific output. So these are the output 1, 2, 3, 4 till 8 Dante output. So you want Dante output number 1 to come raw, like you have sent the signal to the mic to the DSP. At Dante output number 1, you can do pre-processing pre-gate. Now post-processing pre-gate, you want to tweak the audio that you use processing, but you don't want to use the gating, what is done with the Automixer. So that is post-processing pre-gate. Then we have post-processing post-gate. So you want to utilize the processing done in the DSP and the gating done in the DSP, and then you take it out. And the fourth one is pre-processing post-gate. So you don't want to utilize the processing, but you want to utilize the gating done in the DSP configuration. So this is a cool feature. So you can have what kind of output you want from Dante. Now, a little bit more on the Automixer. I want to explain here about the auto mixing mode. So here we offer gating, gain sharing manual. As my colleague Anish has mentioned, that we always recommend to have gated Automixer with our MXA 910. But if you have any other microphone, there is no harm using gain sharing. But with MXA, we always recommend to have gated Automixer. So you select gated. It offers mic optimization mode like 910, 310. And then here you're having the maximum open channel, which is norm. So you can set how many channels you want to keep on at one time. You have leave last mic on. So that is for the conference when you want to send at least the ambience at the far end. If nobody is speaking in the room, the last activated lobe or the channel will send the ambience to the far end. So people are aware that the call is connected. This is the off attenuation at minus 40 dB and hold time at 800 milliseconds. Hold time is basically if the gate is open, for how long you want to keep that gate open, right? So basically, if you ask me as a best practice, if you are using MXA 910 and using Automixer from P300 or 310, then at that point, we recommend to keep the off attenuation minus 18 dB and above. So I always choose minus 40 and it sounds great. And hold time at 800 millisecond and onwards, like 1000 maybe. That sounds pretty much clear and great if you use our MXA with P300, or maybe if you are using any other DSP, they will be having the same kind of configuration. So always go for off attenuation and hold time configuration in a proper way to get the better intelligibility. Right now, I'm gonna show you another thing here. As said, we are gonna have the separate session for designer explanation. I will quickly explain about the echo and how to manage the echo cancellation with our microphone and IntelliMix P300 DSP. So first explanation about the echo, how does it happen? So you're on a conference call using the transmission network. The microphone is receiving your audio and it goes to the far end using the speaker you hear at the far end. Now what happens? The talker is speaking in front of the microphone, fine, you hear at the local site, but the output of the speaker also goes back to the far end microphone and it comes back in the room and you hear your voice back with some latency, and that's echo. So you need to manage that. And to manage that, you have to give the reference of your speaker to the microphone saying, whenever you hear the speaker output, don't take it, don't accept it. And that algorithm is processed in the DSP. So I'm going to show you how to define the AAC reference in the DSP. For that, I'll take you through designer again. That's the topic of best practice. For that, I will take you to the designer tool here. This is the designer, and I will create one new project for you. So for example, MXA webinar, right? You create here and you create a new location here. Don't worry about the layout and the flow of designer. We're going to cover this in next session. For now, I just want to show how to enable the AAC in your DSP to perform it better. So for example, AAC demo, and I created the project. As said, this software tool works in online and offline mode. So right now it is in offline mode. As you can see, I'm having 3 online devices here. So I will go live mode. You know what? I will not, because I have to give audio demos. So I don't want to change the audio routing. So to show you, suppose this is MXA 910. I want one MXA 910 in the project, and I want any USB. And if you know, MXA 910 is having AAC reference. So that is the reason I have chosen 910 to show with any USB, right? And now in coverage map, you can configure, this is the standard lobe configuration of 910, which covers 30 by 30 size of the room. You can also configure the lobe the way you want. I'm not changing now. You can add the room layout. So for example, if suppose you're having huge shape meeting room, you can basically scale the room image. This is 1 meter for my reference, so I gave 1 here. And room, the drawing is scaled. And now you can assign the loop the way you want. As said, don't worry about designer configuration. We will cover next session. So right now, I just want to show how to configure the AAC. And as said, designer is also going to give you the capability of routing the audio. So here is this page, signal flow. So MXA 910, I'm going to take Automix output and connect to the input number 1 of any USB, right? And now let's look on any USB configuration. So when we talk about giving the reference, we need to give the reference of the far end to the microphone. So what is going to be the far end here? Analog input from video conferencing codec or USB input, right? So consider you are having a software-based call, which is USB input. So you need to give USB input, which is the far end audio from the call, to go to the microphone as the reference. So USB input, I open matrix mixer, and I will route this USB input to Dante output. This is the matrix mixer. I have routed to Dante output number 1. So it means whatever is coming from the far end is also reaching to Dante output number 1. So once that matrixing is done, you go to output. This is Dante output number 1 of any USB. You take this audio signal and route it to the AEC reference of MXA 910, which is at this side. Yeah, and that's it. You have given the AEC reference to the microphone. We will discuss more about this in our next session. So for now, just to explain how exactly you define the AEC reference with our Shure network solution. Okay, so I'm just closing this. Hopefully it's clear. If you have any question, type it in chat box. We will talk about this. Now, let's go to the next session. What we are having with this webinar audio demo. So at the very beginning, we discussed that we are having a kind of nice home office setup with multiple types of the microphone in my home office. So I'm going to give you the experience of different microphones. Okay, so let me show you what exactly I have. In my home office over here, this is my living room where I have placed the solution from Shure. So you can see there is one MXA 910 ceiling array microphone here. We have one MXA 310 table array microphone. I have SRH 145M Shure headphone. Laptop comes with built-in microphone. It's here. I'm having my webcam that's also having microphone built in. And right now what you're hearing is Shure MV5 motive microphone, which is placed here. If you notice that all the microphones are almost at the same distance of 60 to 70 centimeter, and I have kept the microphone level in PC at same level. So you will be having apple to apple comparison on different types of the microphone. So let's begin with the demo. So let me explain the setup again. Oh, sorry. As in this current situation, I have hand sanitizer as well. Every now and then I clean my hand. It's always good to be safe. It just added over here. Now let me explain the webinar setup. I'm having my built-in PC microphone, which is connected. Of course, I'm having Shure SRH 145M analog 3.5 mm connection microphone with the headphone, which I'm using right now. Also having webcam connected via USB. Shure Motive MV5, that's connected over here. I also have MXA 310 connected with PoE switch, and the audio is going to P300 via Dante, and P300 is having USB connection, which is also connected via my PC, and I have Shure MXA 910 ceiling array microphone. So let me take you through the demo. Just before that, if you remember, we have introduced our IntelliMix Room license-based software DSP this year in ISE. So what you can do, you can replace IntelliMix P300 via IntelliMix Room. It can be installed in the same PC where you're going to have your Zoom call or Skype for Business or any other call, and the audio from the microphone will go via Dante in the PC. So IntelliMix Room also provides the Dante interconnectivity. Now, let's go back to the setup, what I have over here. So I'm going to demonstrate with this setup. So let's start with PC built-in microphone. So as said, I need to do some kind of changes in microphone. So let me do this. Okay, so right now, what you're hearing is the standard built-in microphone of the laptop. All the microphones are set on the same level, as I said. And you must be noticing that this microphone is almost 70 centimeter of distance from the laptop. And it is having a sound a little bit of sounding boomy, a little bit more on the low end side. It's fine to use if it's just one or two participants in the conference call, software call. If you're having more than that, it can be challenging. So you need to look on other solutions. So I believe you can hear well the kind of quality what you get from the built-in laptop microphone. Now I'll switch to Okay, so now I switch to Shure SRH 145M. The reason of showing this because I'm having this, I'm using headphone and the microphone is here. It's very close to me. So you can experience better quality of the audio from here. It is gonna have more presence because it's very close. It is not taking unnecessary ambience to be picked up by the microphone. And it is also fine if I move my head, I go back because it's always moving with my head. So the audio is going to be consistent, intelligible compared to what you heard from the built-in microphone of the PC. Now, I will take you to the next demo where I'll use webcam microphone. So allow me some time to switch it. Okay, so right now what you're hearing is the webcam microphone. So webcam microphone sounds more or less like a built-in mic of PC, but a little louder, right? More on low end, and sound is slightly boomy. If you don't speak, you hear a little bit of the ambience of the room. Even if my room is not very noisy, it's silent. I don't have any kind of noise here. So still you can feel the difference. It is slightly on the louder side, and it also has a tendency to pick up ambience of the room. It's fine to have for 2 or 4 participants, but imagine if you have to have this kind of call for the whole day. Having such a loud pickup is not recommended, but this is one solution. Now I will move to the next microphone. This is Shure MV5. This is our condenser USB-based microphone. If you ask me, this is one of the best what I can say to use for my home office. The audio is very clear, intelligible. It's having more presence, clear, intelligible sound. And right now it is somewhere around 70 centimeter of, it is having a distance of 70 centimeter, and it sounds like this. The microphone is having 3 different modes. So right now what you're hearing is the speech mode. I will change it to instrument mode. You may be noticing that the voice is softer in this because for the instrument, of course, it's going to be louder than my voice. So to compensate that, this is the flat mode. And now this is the speech mode, which is much better for home conferencing and for the VC calls. Now I will also show you if I move the microphone in off axis 90 degree, now it's not pointing on me. So you will be hearing a little bit of intelligibility loss. Now I move it to 90 degree of off axis, 180 degree of off axis. So it is just in opposite direction of my voice. You must be noticing a little bit of difference in pickup. Of course, it is picking up because there is LCD in front of me and the reflection of my voice is going back to the microphone. But you can slightly understand the difference what you get when the microphone is not on axis. So it's on axis now, straight towards the face of my microphone, and this is how it sounds. Yeah. Now let's move to the next demo where I will demonstrate the MXA 310 cable array microphone. So let me go to that. For that, I need to do some adjustment. Okay, so what you're hearing right now is MXA 310 cable array microphone. Cable array microphone is configured for one polar pattern, which is pointing on me. It looks like this. Yeah, and it is just picking up to me. You may be noticing that, yeah, it is intelligible. And to be honest, this microphone is not for home office. It is for conference room, meeting room, and boardroom. But as I was having the opportunity to demo, so why not? So it is connected over here. This is how it sounds. The microphone can have 4 independent polar pattern. Right now it's 1. Let me just do the steering. So now it's off axis. So definitely my intelligibility is dropped down because the polar pattern is not picking up directly. It's from other side. So I will move it back over here. And the audio is back. My voice is intelligible, clear. It offers pre-configured templates. With the help of the templates, you can have multiple channels, right? You can have up to 4 channels. You can change the polar pattern to cardioid, omnidirectional, hypercardioid, and all. You can steer it. So this is what you get with MXA 310. It's great for up to 10-seater, 8 to 10-seater room. You can utilize 310, easy connectivity via P300 or any USB with the software-based conferencing codec or hardware-based conferencing codec. Okay, now let's move to the next one, which is ceiling array microphone. There we go. So now what you're hearing is MXA 910 ceiling array microphone. Let me explain what is the setup. So right now I'm having 2 lobe assigned on my seat. So over here, basically what you see, 1 lobe is on me, on my chair, and that's getting picked up by lobe number 1. This type of microphone can easily cover 9 meter of coverage diameter. Right now it's almost 2 meter of distance from the microphone. The beauty of this one is autofocus. So when I move my head and I go in another direction, the autofocus sense it and it moves as well to itself. When I move in this side, I go here, so the microphone sense it and adjusts the lobe accordingly. So it's always trying to pick up the voice with better intelligibility, right? So that's the feature. So I was getting picked up by lobe number 1. Now to demonstrate the other lobe, which I have assigned to my couch, when the meeting runs for more than an hour, so I usually go to my couch and sit there and listen, and whenever I need to give short comment, I say, and I'm always covered. So let me demonstrate the lobe number 2. Okay, so right now you're hearing me from lobe number 2, and lobe number 2 is here. So I'm sitting here, lobe number 2 is assigned for me almost 3 meter of distance from the microphone, and it's getting, you are hearing me, I believe it's loud and clear, very intelligible, and you are having the flexibility of moving and all, because the microphone is always gonna manage the autofocus and it will always try to track your voice. Okay, I'm coming back to my seat. Great, so I'm back. This is my setup and I'm on lobe number 1. So that's all about it in terms of demo of 6 different types of microphone. I believe you must have noticed the difference. If you guys are having any question, feel free to ask. We are here to answer your questions and doubt. I will go back to Shure MV5. As said, this is the best microphone for me for using in home conferencing. So here we go. I'm on MV5 and it sounds like that. Okay, so that's all about it. That's the end of the demo and hope you enjoyed. If you have any question, feel free to ask. We are almost done with the webinar of today. Feel free to ask any question and we are here to answer. Thank you guys.